Hi everyone, I hope you are doing great. Welcome back to another video in our series Python for Test Automation. In this session, we will explore a very important programming concept called object-oriented programming and learn how to implement them in Python. This is what we cover in today's session. What is procedural programming? How procedural programming is different from object-oriented programming? The core object-oriented concepts like objects, classes, and constructors, creating a classes and objects in Python, moving the classes into a separate file, import and use the multiple objects. Let's get started. Before diving into object-oriented programming, it is important to understand structural or procedural programming, the style used in earlier days with languages like C, Pascal, and Fortran. Procedural programming is like giving a step-by-step instructions to the computer to perform a particular task. Let us try to understand the procedural programming with the help of a real-world example. Think about cooking a recipe that gives you a step-by-step instruction to prepare a vegetable curry. It all starts with selecting the vegetables and ingredients, then chopping the vegetables, then heating the pan and adding the ingredients, and final cooking everything. Okay. Similarly, in a procedural programming, we give a computer a sequence of step-by-step instructions to perform a specified task. Let us look at this simple Python code snippet that simulates cooking a vegetable curry by following a recipe step by step. What I have done, I have written a program that contains a sequence of functions that simulates cooking a vegetable curry. It starts with selecting the vegetables and ingredients, chopping the vegetables, heating the pan and adding the ingredients. Finally it is cooking. And in the main function, I am calling all these functions in a sequential manner, like selecting the vegetable, chopping the vegetable, heating the pan and cooking. Okay, let us try to execute this. So it executed in a sequential fashion. This is how the procedural program works. Here we give the step-by-step instruction to the computer to perform a particular task. The key points to remember in case of procedural programming is you write a functions, procedures or sequence of statements to perform a specific task. Here the functions and data, they are kept separate. The focus is on how to do the things, how to perform a particular task. Okay, that is the main focus in case of procedural programming. The object-oriented programming is a completely different concepts compared to the procedural-oriented programming. Okay, it is all about designing your program around the real-world objects. The objects can be anything that you use in your day-to-day life, like your bottles, the mobile phones, the computer, the screen, the closets, etc. So programming is basically designed around these real-world objects. Objects are defined by their properties, which are called as an attributes, and they also have a behaviors which are defined by the methods. So in a nutshell, an object is a collection of attributes and methods. Let us try to understand the object properties and methods using a real world object called a car. A car has various attributes such as shape, color, model and manufacturing date. These attribute describes the car. On the other hand, we can perform various actions on the car like driving it, stopping it or honking the horn. These actions are called as methods and they operate on car's attributes. In a nutshell, object-oriented programming is designed around real-world object. It begins with the class which serves as a blueprint that defines the attributes and the methods that the object should have. Then we create the object which are instances of the class. For example, if there is a car as a class with an attribute like model, then the object that is an instance of the car can have a specific models like Toyota and Honda. Now let us try to model a car in Python. In order to model a car in Python, you need to create a class by name car. So let us see how to do it. In Python, you can create a class using a keyword class followed by a name. In our case, it is car, and then a colon, inside which basically you can define your attributes. Okay, here I will take an attribute as model of the car. I'll give a value as none for a time being. Then I will take a color, also as none. Then I will take an year of manufacturing, that is also none. Now let us try to add the behavior or a methods to the car class. So let us do this by the keyword def followed by the method name. So the first method, what I am trying to put it here, is to display the entire details of the car. Okay, and open the parenthesis. As soon as I open a parenthesis, you see a keyword called self is auto populated. Okay, which is a very important keyword in Python. Self in Python is a reference to the current instance, that is the object of the class. It allows to access the instance, attribute and the methods from within the class. It is a fundamental concept in object oriented programming in Python. Using the self, you can access the attributes and the methods. So let us see how to do it. So inside this, you can print using a format specifier the model. The model is, it is by using, so you'll have to use a dot operator, self dot, you see it's automatically populated. So then you can put another print self dot color, then you can use self dot year. Okay, so you are able to access both the attributes and methods using the keyword self. So you can also do this, for example self dot, it also gives the method name. So it is basically used to access the class, the properties, that is attributes and the methods within the class context itself. Now let us try to add some more methods like drive, stop and honk. So I am just copy pasting a code snippet here. So what I am trying to do here is I am trying to drive, and I am printing that I am driving this model, I am stopping this model, and I am honking the horn for this particular model. Okay, and in order to use the class that we have defined, we need to create an object or an instance of the class. Object represent individual instances of the class and hold a specific data that is defined within the class. Let us go and create an instance of the class. So I will come out of the class to the main program. Here I will create an instance or an object of the class by name car Honda. Then I will use a car, that is the name of the class, and then I have to use open and close parenthesis. Okay, now using this, the object, you can access the methods as well as the properties. Let's try to do this. Now car Honda dot model, we will give it as a value as Honda. Then we can again take as a color, I can give it as blue. Then again year, that is equal to 2024. Now I can call the different methods like, so let us create some other instances. Car, Toyota equals to, again, instance of a class car. Then I can take this and then I will have a model as Toyota. Then I will have a color as brown. Then again I have a year of manufacturing as 2022. Okay, now let us try to invoke the methods using the different instances. The first one will be car Honda. I will call display the car details. I need not have to pass any parameters because it does not take any parameters. It takes the parameter as a self, that is the instance of the current class. Okay, current instantiation, reference to the current instance. Okay, so I need not have to pass any parameters. That is the first one. What I will do is, second one, I will try to do car Toyota and try to call the same function in two different. When I invoke the two different functions, the details should be different. For the first call, it should display me Honda blue and 2024. The second one, it should display me Toyota brown and 2022. So both of these, the objects are making use of the blueprint that is called as a car, but they have the different values that is filled in. So when I try to execute this, they should show me a different values. Let us go and execute this. When I called for the first time, it gave me the values from the instance Honda. The second time, it gave me the values from instance Toyota. So this is how basically you can use the multiple instances of a given class. Class is just a blueprint. You can have a multiple values that defines the different, that adds the different properties for the blueprint. Object-oriented program has a very important method called as a constructor. This method is utilized to initialize the object properties, and this method is invoked as soon as the object is created. In case of Python, a constructor is defined using a method called as an init method. Let us try to use this. This can be done using a keyword def followed by underscore underscore init underscore underscore followed by the self, then the parameters or an attributes of a class that we want to initialize. Okay, let us take them. I will give it as a capital just to differentiate. Then I will have a color. Let us make it as capital. Then I will have an year. Okay, this is also, I will put it as a capital. Then inside which I will have to initialize. So we can access the attribute using a self keyword. Then I can have a model equals to model. I'm just initializing, initializing it. Then I have self dot color equals to color. Then I have self dot year, which is equals to year. Okay, so these are the incoming parameters for an init function: model, color and year, and I am then assigning to the class attributes, right? Okay, so this is done. So we also know that the init function is called as soon as the object is being created. Okay, so here we need not have to explicitly pass this parameter. as soon as we call car Honda as a car, then this function will be called and these values will be get initialized. So whenever we call, we need to pass these three parameters as a part of this function. So let us do this. The first parameter is Honda, a second parameter is blue, and the third parameter is the year of manufacture. So this avoids the additional lines here. So let us use the same thing for Toyota instance as well. Let us take this. Now give it as brown. Let us try to do the same thing for Toyota as well. Let us take Toyota, comma, brown, comma, 2022, and let us delete this. Now let us try to execute. Let us clear this. You see, this is what we expected. So what the same thing we got, right? So this basically reduces the additional line of initialization. The initialization is done inside the constructor method, which is an init method in case of Python. So far what we have done is we have created a class inside the main script, okay, and also we have created the objects and we have invoked the methods of the class in the same file, okay. So this is not a good programming practice. In a good programming practice, what the people do, they create a class in a separate file, and wherever the class is needed, they try to import that class. And what I will do is I will create a new Python file called as car.py. Always remember that you try to create a file with the same file name as your class, okay. That is a good method of doing, good way of doing. It's one of the best practice. Now what I will do, I will try to cut this and try to put everything inside the car file, okay. And now I'll come back to my main script. Now let us try to import our class into the main script. So in order to do this, we'll have to write from which file you are trying to import. From, I am importing the car class from the file called car.py. So I'll have to write from car file. I am trying to import a class called car, okay. If it is really confusing you, is these two things, we can also go and change my class name. So let us go and change it as car class, okay. Go and change it as car class just for a clarity. So now I have to importing from the file car.py. I am trying to import a class called car class, okay. And then I will have to replace all the things here. So I am creating instance or an object called as car Honda for the class car class, okay. And then I am trying to invoke the methods. I can also invoke the other methods as well, like car Honda dot drive and then car Toyota dot honk, okay. The important thing is how to import. So the syntax is from the file what you want to import, okay. So let us try to execute this. Let us clear all, try to execute this. See, the execution is completed. So this is how basically we can move your car implementation into a file. Then from your main file or wherever you want to call, you can call this the class. This increases the reusability. That brings us to the end of this session. In this session, we explored what is procedural programming, how object-oriented programming is different from procedural programming, the core concepts of object-oriented programming like objects, classes, and constructors. And we also explored how to create the classes and objects in Python, moving classes into the separate file and importing them back into the main script where you need it. If you find this video helpful, please consider subscribing. Stay tuned for our upcoming video where we will dive into more object-oriented programming concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and more. Thank you for watching.